Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our round of preview series. On today's episode, we will be previewing round 9, where I'm sure a lot of us coaches will be hoping for a much better round than what we have just experienced in round 8. So today I'll be discussing all the popular trade in and trade out targets as per usual. Also giving my captain options, my trades, and also be going through some Q&A questions from you guys. So without further ado, let's sort of get into it. So for the YouTube listeners, you'll be able to see my screen, and we are looking at the AFL Fantasy website where we're looking at all the trade in and trade out targets that have been pretty popular this season. So we'll start with the trade out targets, and we'll discuss Elliot Yeo as being the number one trade out target so far this week. He is 24k been traded out by coaches, right? So 24k coaches have traded him out. And I think this is a great option. He is my number one trade out target this week. Obviously, he's been ruled out for 1 to 2 weeks with that groin injury. So it's sort of a blessing in disguise. I've already discussed previously, and it's been pretty common knowledge around the fantasy community that it was pretty much time for him to be going anyway. So this injury pretty much came at a pretty good time to jump off him. He's only 100k off, the likes of a Dacos, or even less than that to go to a Sinclair, which I know a lot of people are looking at this week. So yeah, it's not a huge leap to get him to someone that you're looking through. So I definitely think he's a great option to jump off of. Number 2 was Connor Rosie, and he's a very similar boat to Yo there. Been rolled out for 1 to 2 weeks with that minor hamstring that obviously has been a pretty dramatic saga over the last week or two. 8.1k of coaches are trading him out, and I do think that's a good option. If it was only 1 week, then there was a world that I would possibly be holding, but because it's been flagged that there's possibly 2 weeks, I just think that's a little bit too long. You don't want to hold your Primos for 2 weeks. I think that's just a little bit too long. No matter how good of a buy he has and the run he's got, I think it's just you got to jump off. Unfortunately, he's now 852k, so he's still got plenty of money on his head. You can pretty much sideways trade him to pretty much any Primo that you want. Darcy Parish is a downgrade if you want to go there. He has a pretty good run. Otherwise, you could go to a Sinclair who's downgrade as well. If not, you could be putting 100k on his head and get into the likes of a Sarong or a Dawson or something like that you're really keen on. So I'd definitely be looking at that. It does hurt for those owners, but it's just a cool world of fantasy at the moment. You're not alone though, that's for sure. There's plenty of other people that are looking to sideways trade pretty much this week, given the carnage that we've just experienced. Tom Green is number 3, which is a bit of a surprise for me, given that it's pretty touch and go if he's going to make it for this round. Obviously, if he is named, you're absolutely not trading him. You don't trade your Primos, and I think that's sort of the lesson we learnt over the last week, that we saw the likes of Marshall and Steele, who were obviously under massive injury clouds last week, and they came out with a respectable 100 and 117. So they're pretty much for a reason. You don't trade them if they are playing, no matter if they're going to lose coin. So yes, Green's going to lose coin. He's got to break even 166, but yes, I think he's still going to put up a respectable score at the end of the day if he plays. He's got Essendon, so that's quite a good matchup for him. I'd be probably lowering my expectation to what we would normally expect from a Green. Like maybe in this game we'd probably more expect a 120, but maybe lower that to 100, just because I think he's going to probably be a bit more handball happy, trying to just not use his leg as much, just given the ankle injury. So yeah, hopefully he can tackle his way to a decent 100, and should be fine. But watch for teams. Hopefully he is good to go this week. If not, I'm pretty confident that it's only a 1 weeker and he's worth the hold. I'll be holding him if he's not named, which will suck. But I think in the long run it'll be better for our teams not to sideways trade him and continue to upgrade. Zach Williams is another one that needs to go. He has been ruled out this week, so he's definitely not playing. He plays tonight, actually, so I'm recording this on Thursday morning, and he is not playing tonight against Melbourne. So it was touch and go with his, I believe it was a calf in the end, so I think it's just time for Aguero. He's been a bit of a failed pick so far this season. Made a bit over 100k and has dropped a little bit from there now. Definitely going backwards. And yeah, the only thing with him is that he doesn't have a huge amount of coin on his head, so 531k, right, isn't a astronomical amount. And we have these other guys like a Yo or a Rosie, even a Green or someone else that you may have that probably needs to go before him. We do have a lot of bench cover for a defender, so you can switch any of those rookies that we have back there to fill in his spot. So he's not the worst hold if you need to trade him and you have other priorities. I'd possibly looking to hold him. Just for example, if you had to trade like a Caldwell, for example, if he's not named, which is very unlikely, but I'd be trading those guys before a Williams because of the forward line. You don't want to be fielding, an additional rookie in the forward line, whereas we have the bench cover in the defensive line. So I'd be looking to trade a forward instead of a defender. But Williams is number 2 on my list of trade out targets. I think he needs to go. Roberts also makes my list at number 5. I know a lot of people are sort of questioning why we're moving off of him, and obviously it's just, he's maxed out price now. His break-even's 82. He had that poor game last week with a 49, obviously in wet conditions, so just wasn't suited to his scoring. He does have a pretty good matchup this week with Fremantle, but looking at the forecast again, it's meant to have 2 to 10 mil of rain and thunderstorms, so who knows what's going to happen with that game again. He could be up for another one that could be pretty poor, so he's probably going to go backwards in price. So I do think he is ripe for the jumping ship and getting him up to a decent play. It's only a couple 100k to get him up to the likes of Dacos if you're looking there. Parrish, as I said before, even if you're looking at cheaper options like a Oliver or a Saligo, I do like those options as well. So I know it probably feels a little bit dirty because he's been scoring so well and he's averaging close to the 80 mark, but at the end of the day, he was a rookie from the start and we are looking to jump off rookies, and yeah, that's just my opinion there. Next one is Oliver Dempsey, and yes, I do think he's probably one that should be on the list as well. Most people have already moved him on in the last couple of weeks. It's breaking even 75. Obviously averaging less than that, so he's moving in the wrong direction now. Lost 8k last week. Port Adelaide this week as well, so that's a very difficult matchup. So he's probably higher up on the priority list to move out over Roberts if you can. If the money, the problem is that he's 100k less than a Roberts. So if you need that 100k, then I definitely support moving off Roberts first. Riley Sanders is an interesting one for people to be trading out, given that Liberatoria is out. I'd actually be expecting Sanders to come back into the side this week, so big watch there. If he's named, I'd probably just be holding him. Obviously has a forward status, so you probably can even put him in the forward line for yourself. Up against Richmond is a great matchup, so I probably wouldn't be moving off of him. You've held him this long. He's obviously shown he's got some scoring potentials with putting up a couple of 80s and averaged close to 75 in that first month of footy just before he got subbed and was the sub for those other games. So I'd definitely be holding him and could turn out to be a pretty good hold for you. So maybe reconsider your trades there. Seth Campbell, Harvey Thomas are probably very similar in the boat. They are both maxed out in price now and starting to move in the wrong direction. Campbell lost 10k last week, and Thomas gained 8k last week, but he's definitely maxed out in price. His break even of 45. He started as a sub last week, which really hurt those that were looking for a bit more cash generation. Did play 52% time on ground and only scored the 31, so that's pretty disappointing. And we have seen his scores be very versatile in his career so far. So probably one you could jump off. Has a pretty good amount of money on his head, so if it works for you, then yeah, I definitely support that. Very luxurious position to be moving off one of these guys given all the bullets, but you must have a better team than I do at the moment, so I definitely support the change. Tom Powell, again, this week featuring highly in the trade out targets, is an interesting one. I am in the opinion that it's not worth trading him out. I've said last week that I'm not looking to mess around with a forward line anymore. I think, given his best, he can definitely be one of the better scorers in our forward line, as we've seen in the first, month and a half of footy, where he was averaging well in the 90s, if not close to that 100 mark, only dropping below 80 once, and that was the start of the season against Giants. So I definitely think he can get back to that scoring potential. Did see a bump in his CBAs last week up to 50%, so hopefully that continues and he can put up some decent scores for us again. 70 in the forward line isn't too bad in my books. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm looking at holding. Got too much carnage to really deal with that anyway. But yeah, if I was in the situation where I was, didn't have any bullets, he wouldn't be on my priority list to trade out. I'd be looking to get rookies off the field and leaving Powell as he is, as he's got a pretty good role and should be pretty consistent there. Zane Desma, very similar to the others. He's going backwards in price now. What did he drop? 14k, yeah. So he's really just going backwards. They'd less than 100k now for the season, so he's been a bit of a failed rookie pick, unfortunately, for those that started him. Been pretty frustrating, knowing that how well he can score. Just bit unfortunate that his role is so inducive to being low scores, unfortunately. Nat Fife also features on my main trade out targets this week, just given the risk of the sub. So, luckily this week we get to know pretty early on, because I think he plays the third game, which is on the Friday night, strangely enough. So, if he is named the sub, absolutely trade him out. If he is not, then I'd probably be considering holding. I'm hoping, given all things, that he's now had his rest. He obviously had minimal time on ground last week with only playing one quarter. So hopefully he's good to go until his bye now. I'd love to be able to hold him to his bye. Obviously round 13 bye is great. Has a pretty good matchups coming with St Kilda and Collingwood are pretty good matchups for midfielders. So I'm hoping he can do pretty well there. And again, in the forward line, I just want 60s to 80s. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for those 90s or 100s. There's very few guys in that forward line that can do that. You're talking a Heaney, a Flanders, and a Zorko pretty much are the only ones that could do that. There's obviously Powell could do that on his day. McRae can do that on his day. Baker, if he can just bump his scoring up a little bit. Who else are we talking about? We're talking about Moore as well. So 80s or 90s isn't hugely off the what we're looking off for in the forward line. So I'm looking at holding him if I can. Lazaro and Combin are very similar in that book. What did Lazaro score last week? He didn't play last week, so yeah, he's probably one that can jump off as well. 400k. Red dot, you can probably move him off. I'd be happy with that. Could provide a good looping option if you need a loop option this week. Obviously, when you want to maximize those rookie scores on field, so I think he plays. When does he play? Have a quick look there. I think it was late Saturday, was it? Yeah, 7 o'clock on Saturday. So not quite the last game, but yeah, it could be a pretty good option for to be able to looping for. So I'd be considering holding and maybe moving off one of those guys that are playing and possibly losing cash before moving off someone that isn't playing at all. So yeah. Aaron Cadman's probably another one that is very similar. Met his break even last week, so he didn't lose any coin. Break even to 53. Got Essendon this week, so could be pretty tough for him to score. Again, 400k, just that awkward price. What does that get you up to? You probably need like 200 to 300k in the bank to be able to use his coin on his head to do something with it. So, but if you're looking at sort of one up, one down, that's perfect. That's all you need. Gallagher, very similar. Blake Howe's an interesting one. I know his break-even's pretty low for what he's been able to do. I know he's got a tough matchup this week with Carlton, but I do think he's worth holding. I'm personally holding him this week. Got the emergency on him for tonight's game. Probably not expecting a huge game from him. Just, it's against Carlton. They're pretty tough, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's harming me on the bench there. He possibly could make some more money. Went up at 17k last week, so I don't think he's worth jumping off. But again, if you needed that extra, 50k from a Cadman or something like that, then maybe it gets you to someone decent that you're looking for. couple more here from the trade at target. So Jeremy Sharp, yeah, he can go. Like I said, very similar to Roberts. Wet conditions at Perth on Friday night. I believe that's Friday night. Yeah, so that could really reduce his scoring potential. Obviously, being a winger, obviously relies on marks to really get a decent score. So if it's wet, he may not be able to get those marks out there. So that could be quite volatile in his scoring. So look, if you can field someone else, then maybe I'd look at that way. Where else are we looking? Jackson. People trading out Jackson this week is pretty unusual. I say that obviously, which is weird to say after the last 2 weeks of me pretty much saying he's the number one trade out target. Obviously, he's losing a bunch of cash. But given the news that Sweet is possibly out for the game with a virus that he's got, apparently it's COVID. So if it is COVID, then it pretty much knocks him out. I can't imagine they play him with COVID. So then you need some ruck cover, right? So unless you're one of those lucky owners that decided to go with him with R3, which in hindsight I should have done. But yes, I if you need to have Luke Jackson as cover, then I'd possibly be holding him for 1 week, put him in your R2 spot, and then, upgrade around that and hold Sweet on the bench. Wouldn't be trading Harley rated out either, especially this week with Elliot Yeo. I think that would give him plenty of extra points. Plus, he's got Collingwood this week, so he could have a pretty good game there. So I'm definitely looking at fielding him this week. Here's my F6 at this point in time. But I think that'll sort of do it for all the trade out targets. That brings us down to, mid 500. So plenty of good options there that you should be looking at trading out. So let's move on to the trade in targets. So lots of names here that I currently don't have in my side, which is, shows where the state of my team is at. So number 1 is Jack Sinclair. So obviously he had a massive game on the weekend, scored 156 against the North Melbourne. Saw a bit of a role change for him, that he went inside and had some CBAs. I think he played 72% time inside, so which is not uncommon for him. We have seen that in the past. My only concern with him, with trading in, is it's the first big score that we've seen. Obviously, he's gone well. He's pretty much averaging sort of 90 or 85 to 90 in his first 6 games. So that is a huge concern. He's pretty much priced at that at the moment. So you're pretty much relying on him going back to 100, if not 105 ways, which I don't know if it's possible. Well, I obviously think it's possible. He's obviously a great footballer and can score on his day. Just with the inclusion of Bonner in that side and Wangani Malera taking more of the pill back there, it has seen a decline in his scoring output. So, and the likes of Brad Crouch coming back in, I think he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. Let's have a quick look here. Who am I looking for? St Kilda. I did go past him. So Brad Crouch is named for 2 to 3 weeks of that knee injury. So at best, you're probably going to get a month of footy where Sinclair is in this role, which gets you pretty much close to his buy, right? So that's pretty good. But yeah, what happens when Brad Crouch comes back into the side? Does he then take that role back, and then Sinclair gets sent back, and then he's back to being an 85 guy? That's just where I sort of see it. If he's in the back line, he's an 85 guy. If he's in the midfield, then he can be anything up to a 110 player. It's just, I don't know how consistent that is. So if my sort of ranking is, if you can get Dacos, go Dacos. I even like a Luke Ryan over a Sinclair. It's probably weird to say, but I do really like Luke Ryan's run. I do like what's his name? Sinclair's run as well. Obviously Hawthorn this week, which is a pretty good matchup. Fremantle are pretty tough for midfielders, I thought, and defenders are pretty good. So it could go pretty well there. Obviously West Coast, we've seen what Dane Zorka was able to do the Suns, but I don't mind it. But I'd be looking elsewhere if I was in those shoes. Oh, and speaking of, Nick Dacos is number 2. I think he's a great trade-in. He's probably my number 1 trade-in target this week. Obviously bottomed out in price now. He will go up. Sugar hit with West Coast Eagles this week. He should go ballistic, especially with Tom Mitchell and De Goey out. He could definitely have a pretty big ceiling score this week. And if I can do it, I'm definitely doing it this week. Clayton Oliver is number 3, and a lot of talk about him this week. A lot of people are pretty confident that he's back to being his best, and I just don't see it. I know he had 31 touches, 7 marks, and 4 tackles on the weekend, but that was against the Cats, who are a very easy matchup. Like the easiest of the, I think, so far this season. So I do want to see it one more week. At the end of the day, his price isn't going to get away from me too crazily. His break even is 97, so even if he has a 110, he may be like 730k. You know, it's 8k more. I'm happy to wait a week, and then he comes up against West Coast next week. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'd rather pick him up next week, so he'd get that sugar hit instantly, rather than up against a tough matchup where he could instantly be a fail and back to his 60s that we've seen in the last month of footy. So wait and see. We did see the glove come off, so hopefully his hand is back to the best. But he's definitely highly on the watch list, and I do want to grab him pretty shortly. Just probably not this week. I think there's other better options at their price. Bruce Reveal is probably the number 1 rookie trade target this week for me. Obviously, with the injuries to Brisbane, I think his job security is going to be pretty good. So hopefully he just fills that McCarthy role. I don't even know what sort of role he played on the weekend, but I just think with all the injuries at Brisbane, I think his job security is great. Run is pretty good as well. He's got Adelaide, who typically aren't too bad. Then you got Richmond and Hawthorn, so I think he can make some pretty good coin up until the bye. Just again, reminder, you don't want to be too heavy with the bye structures, so just keep that in mind. But I do think he's probably the better rookie to grab. Lockie Sullivan is probably, I think he's number 3 on my rookie targets. No, number 4, sorry. So I do think he'll probably play 4 minutes this week after being the sub last week. But just given that Tom Mitchell and DeGoey are probably coming back in next week, it's highly likely that he could be dropped, which is the same flag we sort of had for Darcy Jones last week. Probably could be worth the punt because he did score really well off 43% game time. Obviously scored to 57, so definitely has a scoring pedigree. Just, yes, need that job security come through. So I'm just a little bit scared off by that. Jake Sigaligo is number 6 on the trade-in targets. 4,400 coaches are doing it, and I've played around with it myself. Obviously, here's a great price. Priced at, what was he priced at? Oh, can't bring it up now. I think it was priced about 84 or 83, even around that. So, which his, in the last sort of 3 weeks, he's been averaging, well into the hundreds. So, if he can push, 95, somewhere around that, that's still 10 points under. So, that's still a really good pick in my eyes. And it gets you through to around 15 bye. Great run. Obviously, it's been highly spoken about this 4-week stretch where he can go really bonkers. Even Brisbane Lions have been proven to be a decent option as well. Obviously, I think they're neutral on the scale, so I think he could have a pretty good stretch over the next 6 weeks and could make some pretty good coin. Obviously, break even to 50. Has a great role. I don't think that role seems to be really consistent, so yeah, I think he's a great option, and if you're shopping in that market, I think it's great. I may even have to pick him up myself, depending on how our teams are named. Yeah, I may be picking him up myself. Caleb Sarong, smash pick, love him. I wish I went with him last week, but I unfortunately went with Green. So, bit pricey, $9.70, but obviously great buy. What is he on my trade list? He's number 3 on my main trading targets. So, yeah, that just shows you he's a great option and he's in great form. James Peatling is another one on this list that needs some discussion going on, because obviously we have seen a big increase in his scoring output since he's sort of come on out of the subfest in the last 2 weeks, scoring at 81 and 115 respectively. If we look at his CBA numbers, which is really the reason why he's getting so much of the ball, he had 42% last week and 63% this week. Obviously, with the likes of Cogs and Green returning this week, if both are named, then I think you absolutely stay away, because there's every chance that he goes back to being the sub. And then, he drops, say, anywhere from a 5 to sort of a 50, and that instantly sort of starts his cash generation, and then it's a failed pick, right? Just keep an eye out. I think, when do they play? They play early on Saturday, I believe. Yep, 4 o'clock Saturday. So you probably could be able to tell if he's going to be the sub. If not, I think he's a pretty good option. Probably just with the risk, he's lower on my options. I do have him included in my downgrade targets, but yeah, he's definitely lower on my end there. It's nice having him as a forward. That's obviously great. Great matchup. As I said, Essendon do give up a fair few points to midfielders, and it's just what his role is going to be with the inclusions and having a full strength side again. Very similar to Darcy Jones. Kobe McKercher is an interesting one that I know a lot of people are looking at this week, which is again interesting, but it's if you want to downgrade to him, or you're looking in the sort of market of this 500 to 600k, then I do think he's a pretty good option, just given that his role looks pretty secure. Obviously, averaging pretty much 100 in that last fortnight, taking all the kick-ins, so it's great to see. If I have a quick look at that, I know Fisher took a fair few more this week, but last week was pretty big. Yeah, took 5 kick-ins this week, only played on for 4, unfortunately, but had 12 last week. Fisher took a lot more this week, which is a bit unfortunate, but I still think he's going to be pretty consistent. Didn't actually get on the end of many marks last week, which was probably why he only scored 99. I do think he can score quite well, and yeah, I think he's worth the hold, and possibly could be even a hold longer than his buy, like a Sheasel, like we saw last year. But probably, it's probably not the best trade in my option. He's probably not going to make a huge amount of cash. Maybe he gets up to 600k, 650 at most. It's just whether you need the points on field. Like, he can be a pretty decent person to put on the field. Cashadir, or however you say his name, even though the Hawthorn supporter, I don't know how to say it perfectly, but I just got Cashadir. He is number 3 on my trade-in targets. Obviously, came out with a bang with a 67 last weekend against Western Bulldogs. Kicked 2 goals, 1. And was just marking a lot and had plenty of disposal. So I'm pretty confident he's going to be locked in the side for a little while longer. Obviously, Lewis and Chol are injured at the moment. Lewis is injured for a little bit longer. And I think even Chol's injured. I think he had picked up a wrist, so he could possibly be out for 1 to 2 weeks. Let's just even have a quick look. Hawthorn. So Lewis is still out for 1 to 2 weeks, and Chol's out for 1 to 2 weeks. So that probably gives him another fortnight at least in the side, and I'm pretty confident that he may even be in favour if he can keep this performance up. He provided plenty, and yeah, I think they might continue with him. So yeah, I do like him. It's just that obviously the 2 full targets are pretty volatile in scoring. It could be, we could see a shit Hawthorn this week, and he has 0 marks and doesn't get a shot at goal, and he drops an 8 or something like that. So big watch there, but I think he's still a pretty good option. Zane Zorko, if you have the cash, then I absolutely will not stop you from getting this guy. He has shown that he is probably one of the biggest scoring persons and players for this year. He has been a huge miss by me after I looked at trading him in round 3. I unfortunately don't have the coin to get him this week in the forward line with a few other issues, but yeah, I know it all keeps going on about him possibly being injured, but I do think in his role, it's very unlikely that he will get injured. Obviously, he's obviously put up the biggest score for this season with 184. Don't expect that every week, but yeah, I think he can definitely be, top of the line in the forward line, so I definitely think he's good, and yeah, if you're definitely in the top of the rankings, I think he's pretty much a necessity at this point in time. I think he's getting pretty highly owned in there now, so you're just losing points every week to, if you don't have him, then you're maybe fielding a McRae or something like that, and that's, upwards of 50 points a week, so that's rough, and you need to get him in your side. Bailey Dale, again, the same as last sort of week. It's a pretty good option. Obviously, he's been going at a pretty good rate over the last sort of 3 weeks, 60, 160, 134, and 105, where he did slow down a heap, and this could have been a lot more. Tigers this week could put up a lot of points, break even to 50, making some coin. It's just I don't see him being that top 6 defender at this point in time. Obviously, with the likes of Liberatore going back out and indefinitely, it could see what's his name, Roberts, go back into the midfield, where we did see him score quite highly. So I don't mind the play. It's just I'm not sure how long it's going to be there for, and it's probably a bit more of a risky, especially with Bevo on the outer. I think there's even be a media post that if Bevo doesn't win against the Tigers this week, it could be his last game. I don't know if that was possibly a troll, but I definitely believe it. I think he's definitely on the outer, and we could see a big shake-up at Brisbane pretty soon. So buyer beware. That's pretty much all I'll say. Darcy Jones is number 2 on my trading targets. I think this is pretty much the last week you want to pick him up if you are picking him up. Obviously, we'll know if he's named and if he's the sub pretty early on in this week. So if he's not, then I think he's still a great trading target. Obviously, a lot of Giants back this week, so that will show he has pretty good job security if he's still named. Never negative break even of 8, so obviously going to make some coin. Essendon, pretty good matchup. He's just going to make some bulk coin if he can stay within the team. So I just put him up higher in my list, given that he is probably the last week you can grab him. Great break even, so I don't mind him there. Darcy Parish is a pretty good trade-in target for me as well. Obviously, I was looking at it in my round review series. I just think that he can go back to being his 105 to 110 guy pretty quickly. Pretty good, run to come up to his bye. The bye is pretty frustrating, round 14. I'm not a huge fan of it, and I wish it was round 15 because that's where I'm sort of lacking at the moment. But when you got a guy this cheap who will have, where'd he go? That has dropped over 100k for the season, and we know what he's capable of, and he looks fit and healthy again. You just grab it, and that's what I'm hoping to do this week. So I do think he's great. And the likes of him, a lot of people have been asking me whether it's a Parish or it's a, an Oliver or a Saligo, even a Moore. These sort of cheaper guys that, under 850k. I'm more of a Darcy Parish fan, just given that he's probably more than likely the hold for the year. Whereas, a Saligo, you're probably jumping off of him at his buy in round 15, so it's more of a short-term play. Even an Oliver, just given the risk and you can wait a week, I think, you wait there. Oliver could obviously be a hold for the year as well, but just given that Parish's price is going to get away from you before an Oliver's, so that's why I lean towards Parish over an Oliver. Dylan Moore, if you're looking for a forward line, I do like him as well. Just the run is what scares me off. It's pretty tough for those sort of players. So I'm pretty scared off of that. I'm not looking there at the moment, but even the likes of Sinclair, which I've spoken about previously already, very similar price to Parish. He could be a hold as well, but I just think that the role with Parish is going to be much more consistent than a Sinclair, and that's why I just have a bit more confidence there. Speaking of Dylan Moore, he's been quite highly owned, traded in this week, so 1,800 coaches are doing it. I do like it. Obviously, it's gone bang the last 2 weeks, 114, 116. He can put up those scores on his day. Just going to be really volatile depending on how Hawthorn perform. 750k, so it's a pretty good price range there. If you're looking for a forward line and shoring up your forward line there, I think he's pretty good. Couple more here. So Zach Merritt and Nick Martin, I'll put them in the same basket. I think they're both top of the line, so I think they're both great buys. Probably not the best matchup to trade him into, being Giants, and should be a pretty tough matchup. But I still think by the end of the day they're going to be pretty holds for the year, so they'll be fine. Max Holmes is an interesting one. I do think he's probably done most of his damage already, so he's already gone up with 132k, and I think he probably missed the boat on this one. Port Adelaide this week, so I think that's pretty tough, and his run isn't great from here. If you actually look at his run that he's already had, it's actually been elite, so that's why he's probably been scoring at a higher rate. So yeah, that's probably the flag that I have for him, that, when he comes into tough matchups, which he is going to experience in the next sort of upward to his bye, he could probably push, lower his colours a little bit and maybe score some 70s and stuff like that. So I'd probably be looking elsewhere. He's not going to be top of that sort of top 6 in defence, so look elsewhere in my opinion. Probably finish it off with maybe 2 or 3 more here with Luke Ryan. I actually really like Luke Ryan this week. Obviously, put up 160. How can you not like? Break even of 78, 872k, so it's cheaper than a day cost, and has an awesome run, awesome buy. So these matchups are great for him. He could put up some massive scores. So I definitely like the looks of him. And if you want to be unique, obviously he's only 17% owned, whereas Dacos is nearly 60% owned. So if you want to be a bit unique, I definitely support that option. Josh Dunkley has been getting his name thrown in the hat a lot this week after putting up a 150, and has probably shown his colours a little bit more, and after going under the radar. I do really like him. Obviously, awesome run to the buys. It's just, again, the flag of if you're too heavy in the round 12 buy. Most people already have the likes of a Green, a Powell, a Heaney. Who else we have? If you have Grundy still, I can't remember who else I had. Yeah, I'll probably bring it up a bit later, but that's alright. You're pretty heavy in that line, most people anyway, so if you're not heavy, then I think it's a great option. He's a great pod, but I'm personally just fading him for now, and maybe looking at him after the round 12 bye and picking him up after then, which I'm sure most people are. Probably avoid Jack Hayes. Taiwo Woodham, be interesting to see if he is named the sub this week. I think there is whispers that he may be the sub. I think, what's his name, Bowie came back in, so we saw the likes of Larky, what's his name, Laurie got dropped, so I do think he could possibly be the sub this week. So big watch on tonight's game. You'll know pretty early on, so if you once you know he's a sub, you're not trading him in at all. And Zach Butters, I'll finish on him. I think he is a great option this week. He's number 2 for me. Obviously, with Connor Rosie out for the week, I think he could go ballistic. He's going to have more access to points in my eyes, and probably could be a pretty good captain option. And obviously has a great run in the next 3 weeks, and he has an awesome buy. So if you don't have him already, I think you jump on him. He is a great option. But I think that'll sort of do it for all the trade-in, trade-out targets. Pretty short one this week, obviously. A lot of diversity of what people are doing, which is great to see. We're going to have some versatility in our teams, so hopefully we can see some bit more movements here and there. Obviously, with a lot of bullets, that's just what happens. But we'll quickly just cover off the summarizer, I guess. So bringing up the pop-up. So what are my main trade-out targets? So bring it up there. My main trade-out target is Elliot Yeo. I think he needs to go. Break even 116. He's ruled out. You need to get going. I think it's perfect time. Jump off him. Number 2, I have Connor Rosie. Again, very similar. Possibly 2 weeks scares me off enough to jump off of him. I know he has a great buy, but yeah, we can probably pick him up cheaper after he's round 13. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, be jumping off unless you want to take the gamble that it's only 1 week and then he's back next week. The only world I'd be doing that is if you don't already have, the likes of a Tom Green that you may be holding already. So I'd only be holding 1 primo for the week. Number 3, I had Zach Williams. Obviously, he's out this week, so he's not going to be scoring. So he's lower on the list for that reason, and given that his price is a bit lower, so I'd definitely be looking to move off those higher price guys first. So he's maybe worth the hold if you want to just throw him on your bench. It's unfortunate because you can't really use him as a looping option this week, given he plays the first game. But yes, if he gets you up to who you want, then I'd definitely be moving him off. He's just deadwood at this point in time. Number 4 was Fife. Oh, sorry, I have Fife in my team still. Break even of 82. The caveat with him, obviously, at number 4 is if he is not named the sub. If he's not named the sub, I absolutely think you hold him. Even if he is going to drop a little bit in coin, maybe he puts up a 60, he drops, maybe 10k. I don't think it's too much of a worry. I'm happy with the 60 at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm more than worth holding him. But yeah, if his name's sub, yeah, absolutely jump off over, the likes of a Roberts, who is exact same price. Leading into number 5, who is a Roberts. Yeah, I already spoke about him. Wet weather coming again. Price is now going in the wrong direction. End of the day, he's a rookie, so you want to jump off these guys and get to those top line guys, and he has plenty of money on his head to make that upgrade pretty easily for yourself. So I think it's a pretty good jump from there. But that sort of does it for the trade out targets. Let's move to the trade in targets. So to summarise, Nick Dacos is my number 1. I think he is an absolute lock this week. I think most people are doing Yoda Dacos. It's pretty simple this week. Yeah, this is pretty much the time that we've been waiting all season to jump on him after fading him to start the year. Hopefully we can see a bump in his scoring from what we've sort of been seeing so far this season, and can push closer to that 110 mark that we know that he can do with an easy matchup, and hopefully with less attention going his way. But yeah, I think he's great there. Number 2, I had Zach Butters, as I discussed. Great run, great buy. No Connor Rosie. It's all just sort of lining up for him to go ballistic. Cats this week. The only problem with Cats in my eyes is that Atkins could go to him and could give him a bit of a run roll with, so could get a bit of attention. But I still think at the end of the day, he's going to be a great player for the next 3 or 4 weeks until his bye, and obviously having that bye is really, really helpful. Number 4, I had Caleb Sarong. Obviously, he absolutely boosted last week and was a trade-in of the week. Still priced under what he started at for the year, which is crazy to think after what a good start he has had to the season with a 161. Not bad of a run. Obviously, great buy, as I've already said. I think the main reason why he's up this high is that given that buy. I know he's a bit pricey, and that's why I sort of put Butters a bit ahead of him, just given that there's 50k difference, and that 50k could be the difference next week for sure. Number 4, I had Jordan Dawson. I know not many people have been talking about him this week, but I still think he is a great trading target. Obviously goes on a massive good run this week. So I think he's still a great trading target. I'm possibly looking at him next week if I can find the coin. Yeah, I just love what he's doing, and I know there is some concern with his role, but I don't think it's too much of a concern realistically. So let's have a quick look there. Was down back under 50% CBAs last week, but I think he still put up 100, so I'm still happy with that. And he can score elsewhere on the ground, so he's still going to have CBAs, and it may just not be that consistent 80% that you sort of want from him. And number 4 was Josh Dunkley. As we spoke about, great run to his bye, so those 3 games he could definitely put up some ceiling scores. Very unique, so I definitely think he's a good pod for you if you're not too heavy with the round 12 bye. Great price, obviously a bit more on the expensive side, but we've seen he's been able to be pretty consistent. Yeah, and I just like what he's able to bring. So that's sort of the main trade-in targets. So now we'll sort of just move on to the downgrade options for the week. So I've gone with Bruce for this week, being number 1. Obviously, job security is probably the best of the lot. Given the injuries that they've had, I think he can put up some decent scores and provide some cash generation over the next sort of month, at least, until those sort of guys come back. Where are they? So obviously, a fair few are out for the season that we saw. McCarthy mainly is probably the one that we're looking at there. Even the likes of Starchevich helps as well. So we had 3 guys go down in that are mainly in the 22, which is definitely tough for Brisbane. Even the likes of Zach Bailey maybe can come back and do his role, so maybe an eye on that one as well. But I still think he's definitely going to be in that team for at least the next 3 weeks, I would say. I'd be very surprised if he's not. Who's my number 2? Darcy Jones, as I said, probably the last time to pick him up this week, so I think he's number 2. Great matchup, break even. It's just whether he's named in that side or not. And and I'm pretty confident if he's named in the side this week, then he should be named in the side for coming weeks as well. Number 3 was Cashier. A bit lower on the scale of on things, just because probably his job security isn't as good, given that the 2 other tools are back within 2 weeks. Obviously, he's a tall forward, so they're not consistent with their scoring. Depends on how many goals they can kick, so he's down there, but I do think he will get his opportunity. Lockie Sullivan is probably one I'm probably just disservicing by putting at number 4 there, given that he should probably play full minutes this week against West Coast. But again, it's just the worry that next week, when they have a few more players return, where Collingwood got the Goey at 1 week, you got Tom Mitchell 1 week. Who else we got here? We got Bo McCreary, that's 1 to 2 weeks as well. So you expect all those sort of guys to come back in pretty quickly into the side, and that instantly will push sort of these fringe guys out. So that's my concern. You may only get 1 or 2 weeks out of him at max, whereas those other guys, hopefully you get a bit more than that. At number 5, I had James Peatling. I did throw him there at number 5, just because I am super worried about his job security. He's obviously been quite a big fan of being the sub so far this season, obviously doing it 4 of 6 times so far this year, and in those games they have been winning. So I do expect he probably goes back to that sort of role, unfortunately for him, and will kill his cash generation. So buyer beware there, but I still think if he's named and he's not on that bench, then maybe he's worth a punt. That probably does it for the downgrade targets. What else do I have to talk about? So now we sort of need to move into captains and what my trades are so far this week. So what I'm looking at doing is pretty similar to what I probably discussed early this week. Obviously not too much more information has come through. Where is he? Roberts as well. So I'm trading out a Rio and a Roberts, and I'm bringing in a Dacos and a Parish was my idea. So I'm getting sort of 2 upgrades in one. Obviously going a mid-pricer to a top liner and a rookie to a... I'll call him a primo. I won't call him an uber primo because I don't know if he pushes that top 8. I think on his day he can, but I think he's still he's going to be worth a hold for the a long period of time. Unfortunately, I couldn't really get up to anyone that was sort of decent with 906k. There's no one really in that price range. Just have a quick look. Yeah, so you're talking like a Brayshaw, which I'm not confident with. Even on Laird, I'm not confident with. Crouch, Miller, I was pretty confident with previously, but I would only put up to 77. He just doesn't. Yeah, he's probably gone backwards in his scoring potential in the last couple of weeks. Just no one really here that really excites me too much, where I think Parish is moving in the right direction, so I'd possibly be doing that. That's obviously my ideal trade, as long as I don't cop any more Garnage. But if the likes of Sweet is out, then obviously I need cover on that R2, so then I'd probably just go to English. I think he is... He's just such an easy trade-in. He's right for the picking, so he just comes in as my R2, and he will score pretty consistent this week. He even features in my captain, so yeah, I do think he is a pretty good trade-in as well. And then I had 800k left to go for this round. So who could I get? At the moment, I was leaning towards the likes of a Saldigo. Where is he? So that left me 90k for the week. I'm pretty happy with that. Still going from a mid-pricer to a top line, and then a rookie to a mid-pricer who gets me through to the buys. Pretty happy with that at the end of the day. I do think both of these guys are going to be good for me. Just probably not the most ideal trades, because then I'm fielding Sweet on the bench and it's not really moving these guys off. So I'll lock this in for now and look how my team's going to structure up. So obviously Sweet comes straight on. Move Barnett there. Where is Sligo? So Sligo's already in this spot there. Obviously Green, hopefully he plays. If not, then I just need to field the likes of... Ooh, who do I field there? That's where it becomes tricky, because then I have to field like a Thomas, who probably will be a sub or not even play, or go a Garcia. Against Hawthorn could be alright. Yeah, it becomes tough. I don't know. We're in a really tricky spot at the moment with, how many bullets we're copping, but we'll get through it. So hopefully this is how we structure it for the week. My captain options this week. So probably not as many options to look at this week. I think I found it pretty tough to look through. So obviously Thursday night, you may be looking at a Max Gawn against Carlton. That typically is actually a very green matchup in him. But when you look back through the scores against Pittner and what's his name, Tom de Koning, there's not really many high scores. Like, you maybe had the likes of a Briggs who's put up like 105, and maybe Cameron put up like a 90, something like that. There's no been huge ceiling scores, so it does make me a little bit worried, and I may not go that way. But definitely, if you want to look at him, he's obviously been a great captain option in the past, and I do expect him to bounce back this week. So hopefully he does that. Friday night, you have possibly a Butters, if you want to put a VC on. I probably wouldn't go the C on him, but I'd possibly do a VC, just given the risk of Atkins going to him and putting some work into him. So I do think he's a decent option there. No one probably from the Cats there. Could go also wrong, but Swans are a pretty tough matchup, so maybe not. If you're looking at, a Steele, a Marshall, or even a Sinclair, all of them are pretty good options against Hawthorn. I don't mind them, but they probably haven't made my top of the list. Merritt has been super consistent all year, so I wouldn't be mad about putting the C on him. Wouldn't be touching Tom Green this week if he plays. Probably not even a Whitfield this week, just given, the likes of the possibility that he's tagged, given the blueprint they've provided. Anderson is probably another good one. Up against North. A Rowell if you had him. Flanders is interesting, given that it is in Darwin. I probably wouldn't try to go too fancy with outside players. Could be very dewy and not inducive to those sort of marks that we sort of expect from him. So maybe stay away from him at the moment. Big game is Tigers versus Bulldogs, so I think there's plenty of good options here. So Tim English, he is a great option. He put up 145 and 131 against them last year. And Bontempelli as well, put up 108 and 151 against them. So, and they've been an easier matchup this year than what they have been previously. So I think both of them are great options. So I'm probably going to lead into them. So as I need a quick drink. So then we move into the Sunday where there's only two games. You got Nick Dacos against West Coast. I think that's a pretty good option as well. He features in my top 5. And then you have Crows versus Brisbane Lions. You could go your Dawson if you're confident. It's probably the only guy I'd probably go with. And even a Dunkley, if you had him, he could be very unique as well. But to clarify my top 5, so my top 5 are Tim English at number 1. Obviously, like I said, 145 and 131 scored last year. I think he could go big. Obviously, has got back into form in the last sort of 3 weeks. 128, 141 and 126. I think he could go ballistic here. Hopefully I'll offer a 150. Bontempelli is number 2. Has been struggling so far this year, but has been showing signs that he is getting back to his best here and there. So hopefully he can put up a pretty big score, and hopefully he's doing it for his coach. Luke Beveridge. Hopefully he's able to put up a really good captain performance, like not just for our team, but also for the Western Bulldogs, and can get him to a pretty decent score and repay the faith of all the coaches that have started him so far this year, and has dropped over 150k, which sucks. Nick Dacos is number 3 for me, obviously against the likes of West Coast. No Tom Mitchell, no DeGoey. He's going to be the main guy in there. So I just think he could go ballistic. Obviously, we saw the likes of him go 122 against Carlton, who are a tough matchup. So just imagine what he could do to West Coast. I think it could be the likes of a 140 plus on his hands there. Number 4 is Zach Butters, and I'll probably just caveat that with saying that that's only a VC option. Again, I just don't like the thought of him being a C option. Hasn't really put up any ceiling score so far this year, so I'm hoping that he can sort of back that up. He did score a 77 and a 130 against them last year, so very different end of the scales there. But I do think with the likes of Rosie out, he could be much better. And then I've got Merritt at number 5 as a pretty secure pick, where he's still on the ton run. He's the only one left, and I think he could continue that this week with a sort of a walking wounded Giants at the moment. So I do like him very much. So that sort of clarifies the top 5. What am I doing? It's pretty tough. If I get Tim English in, I think he definitely goes to C. I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I may go Gorn as my VC, or even a Merritt. When do they play? So you got Bulldogs play. So it may be the likes of a Merritt as VC against the Giants, and then into Tim English. If I don't get Tim English in and I go my first trades, then it'll probably be Bontempelli as my C, running team instead. So some pretty good options. Where did I put the Sheasel? Up in Darwin. Role change, so I didn't really consider him too much, unfortunately. Yeah, obviously want to see another week with him in that midfield, so probably not considering him too much. And I don't think I missed anyone else. Maybe a Zorko, if you're keen. I think Adelaide are pretty tough, though, for kicking defenders, so I don't know. What's tough for Zorko isn't probably tough for anyone else, so could be a good option there if you're looking there. But it probably finalises my captain options. What else do you want to talk about? All right, we'll move into the Q&A now. We'll answer some questions, so I'll get rid of that. All right, don't have any pop-ups for this, but I'll just rattle it off. So Moon Boy has asked, my issue is Yo going all the way up to the best midfielder I can. Who would you pick out of a Dawson or a Dunkley? So obviously both are great options and both feature in my main trading targets, obviously 4 and 5. I probably have Dawson above a Dunkley, just given the buy structure. Obviously, 15 is pretty light on for most people. Better run overall, so it has probably 4 or 5 great matchups. Obviously, I think it's definitely 4, maybe 5 if you want to include the Lions. I think they could definitely repay the faith, where Dunkley, while he has good 3 matchups, then he hits his buy and then comes into a tougher matchup in post to buy. So I'd probably be leaning towards Dawson there. The next question comes from BT Ewan. I don't know how to just pronounce that, but he says, I feel this was a week for the non-vanilla teams or non-popular ownership players to shine. It should balance out over the next few weeks. We're all praying. He is asking Yo to Dacos, which I think is a great trade, and then Yo to Zorko. I absolutely love that. I think all the talk about Zorko being injured, I think it's just a scare tactic. Just jump on him. You won't regret it. At the end of the day, yeah, I think he's a great option. He's obviously been doing it very consistently, and yeah, I think he can keep going at that rate. And like I said, he's got that halfback role, which is a bit more friendly for his sort of player and for his body. So I think he can stay fit for a little while, and he looks fit. So yeah, keep that going. Next question is from AU Rules Football. Caldwell to Parrish or Roberts to Saligo, or getting one of the likes of Lazaro, Cadman, or Campbell off my field is more a priority. So pretty much what he's saying is that he already has Yo to Dacos as one of his trades, and he's asking what to do with the second trade. So I definitely like the first trade, Yo to Dacos. That's obviously a lock. They need to go. Probably wouldn't be trading out a Caldwell. We didn't speak a whole lot about him this pod, just given that I think he pretty much plays. So if he plays, you're holding him. That's pretty straightforward. But if you can go a Roberts to a Parrish, I definitely prefer that over a Saligo. Obviously, it's about 100k difference, so it's the only problem. So if you can't get up to a Parrish, then I do think Saligo is definitely the play. So I love those trades. If you're going Yo to Dacos and then Roberts to Saligo, that's great. I love it. Next question here is SB, then some numbers. Rank these trade targets, and he goes McKercher, Sweet, or Peatling. So obviously Sweet is probably the outliner there. If he doesn't play, then I wouldn't be trading in. Obviously, he then it's pretty much out of McKercher and Peatling, and I'm definitely in McKercher over a Peatling, even though it's probably 100k difference there. I think McKercher's role is much more secure, given that he's got pretty much the keys to the back line with Fisher back there, so he should be pretty consistent for a little while now. Whereas Peatling's probably a bit more fringe and could be, dropped to this week or back to the sub pretty quickly. So I'd definitely be leaning towards McKercher there. But if somehow Sweet is named, then I'd probably go Sweet over all of them, just given his cash generation is going to be quite substantial. So I think if you can chuck him there. But it's also in saying that you'd be fielding a McKercher, whereas you may not be fielding a Sweet. By the sounds of your trades, you may already have the 2 ruckmen that you're fielding, so maybe a Cherry and a Gorn or something like that. So in that sort of sense, then I'd probably go McKercher if you're looking to put him on the field. Another question here from GeForce. Locked in Yo to Dacos, very common trade, love it. I can get Williams to one of Saligo, Oliver or more. How would you rank these 3? So I'm definitely Saligo more than Oliver, just because the Saligo and Moore are going to get away from you this week in terms of price. So both are going up in price, whereas Oliver isn't going to increase in coin that much unless he has an absolute ballistic game, which is unlikely against Collingwood. So not Collingwood, Carlton. So I'd probably go with Saligo number 1. It's tough because you're going Williams, right? So you're probably flicking likes of a Bonner back or even another rookie to field that option. So you'll probably want to field that another midfielder, not a forward. So depends on your structure, but I'd probably prefer Saligo. I think he has a better run. I think price is a bit better in terms of, I think it's 20k cheaper. Yeah, I just overall like Saligo a bit more. So I'd probably be going Saligo more than Oliver. Next question here is from Lockie Russell. It says, hi Darren, I have Dacos, Dunks and Saligo. Trading Yo to Parrish, should I trade? Then he gives a few different options here. Dempsey to Saligo, Campbell to Peatling, or Dempsey, Sanders to McKercher. So a couple different options there. So obviously you already have sort of the main trade in target so far with Dacos and Sprong. You're already going Yo to Parrish. I do like that. Probably go a Dempsey to a Saligo. I do really like Saligo this week. Great run, great buy. Probably over a McKercher, even though he's 200k cheaper. Yeah. I do think he puts up probably. It's tough to say actually. They probably put up very similar scores. But I do like the Saligo's buy a little bit more, so I'd probably go Saligo. Get a bit more out of him. Assuming Dempsey isn't on your field anyway, so that's probably my only other question is, what if you have a Dempsey and assuming you're fielding him in the forward line, who are you bringing on instead for the likes of, a Saligo or a McKercher, whoever you trade in? If he's on your bench, then no worries. Obviously, that's a great trade. You're taking a bench player and you're putting him on your field. That's obviously an upgrade. Whereas, if Dempsey's on your field, then you need to probably replace him with a forward, because who else are you fielding? I'd only be fielding Wilson and Reed. That's my advice in the forward line. That's all I'd be doing. So, yeah, definitely go Dempsey to Saligo. And I think got one more question here, and this is from Kath, regular commenter on my channel. So, hello, Kath. You say, Carnage, I had Green and Wits too, dropped thousands to 6k rank, so it's all in the same boat, very tough, it sucks. Thoughts on Rosie and Yo, so obviously great trade out targets, you need to get rid of both of them, and he lists, I assume Kath is a girl, yeah, maybe, sorry if I assumed that wrong. You give a couple of different options, so you go Sinclair and Saligo, or Oliver. So you've actually listed Saligo and Oliver together. I'm just going Saligo, sorry. So Sinclair and Saligo, Parrish, Saligo, Parrish and Moore, or Laird and Oliver. And I'd probably be going with the likes of Parrish and Saligo. Again, I think Parrish is a bit more secure in terms of his role in his side, so I do like him over a Sinclair. Price is very similar, so I don't think it matters too much there. Definitely like Saligo over Oliver. You've listed more there, which concerns me. Obviously, your forward line. Do you need an additional forward? If you do, then Moore's a great option. I couldn't push you away from that. It's just the run that scares me off, and I don't like the fourth option at all. You got Laird and Oliver. I don't really like Laird, and I don't like Oliver, so definitely knock that one out. So I'd be leaning towards Parrish and a Saligo. But yeah, that was sort of do it for the Q&A sessions for today. Sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I'll answer your questions in the comment section after this recording, so I'll get back to you. And if I didn't get to your question, then feel free to drop it in the comment section of this video. I'll definitely get back to you by the end of today before sort of teams it out. So, but yeah, I think I'll sort of leave it there. Hopefully that gives you some idea of what I'm doing this week. Yeah, hopefully we have a much better week this week, given all the carnage we had last week, but I don't think it's done. I think we'll all be having Sweet not named this week, which will suck for most coaches. Maybe even Tom Green isn't named, and then we end up holding both of them. That would suck, but yeah, hopefully hope for the best. So please leave a like and subscribe. Tell a mate. On the road to 750 subscribers. I think we're about 650 at the moment, so got 100 to go. Yeah, working hard to get there, so feel free to help me out if you can, but if not, that's okay. Just leave a like on the video, I'll be more than happy with that. But yeah, I'll leave you that for the week, and hopefully you have a good week and enjoy. Bye.